everyone. Mandy Dwight here, host of ROS Goss podcast, founder of Dwight & Company, marketing strategy for automation robotics. Exciting day. I'm here with my very good friend and industry colleague, Anthony Leo, president of IPR Robotics.
Mm-hmm. It's great to be with you, as always, Mandy.
It's funny, like preparing for this podcast, I thought about it, and Anthony has had the misfortune to have worked with me 3 different times at 3 different companies.
Yep. I've gotten around just like you, and we've had some good scar tissue together, and we've had a lot of fun together, and it's always good to keep working with you.
It's a small industry, and that's like one of the big pieces of advice that I give people all the time is like, don't burn a bridge, because you're going to see these people
100%
ad nauseum like for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we've known each other for a very long time. We were at Rethink Robotics together. I actually almost brought you a Rethink Robotics umbrella because I have.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Yeah,
I still got some good relics in my house too. So.
Exactly. I mean, on my keys, like the Rethink Robotics flash drive was one of the best flash drives.
I still got it too.
On my keychain, I love it. And then I thought about it. We worked together at Soft Robotics, so I almost brought you the Soft Robotics umbrella.
Oh, I didn't know we had a soft one.
Yeah,
okay, all right.
In my car,
that's awesome.
The other day in the back. So yeah, good umbrella. And then again, we've worked together through, with IPR. Now, the president, our team has worked with your team, which is a fantastic team, and it's been great. So. Yep.
No, it was good. To bring you guys on last year. It helped us kind of figure out, I think, how to grow up with marketing.
Yeah.
I've always appreciated marketing. I always think in some of the tech companies we've been involved with, it was undervalued.
Yeah.
But it wasn't an area that I spent time working myself. So like for me, it was I know this is important, but I don't know how to scale it myself.
Yeah.
So it was really helpful while we started to figure out our internal team and strategy, having you guys kind of come in and set the whole foundation for what we should and shouldn't do. And that was really helpful.
Yeah, it was really fun working with you guys. And, you and I, I say we grew up together in this industry, but, we don't talk about what we are or anything like that. But, we've had, very similar, but also very different career paths. And, I love your career story, and, not just because we're friends and I'm a great champion of you, but, you started your career as a sales engineer, and really in kind of a short time, by this industry standards, you're now, the president of IPR Robotics. And I wanted to talk a little bit with you about what does that journey look like, with your career?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think growing up through being a individual contributor was probably one of the best things that could have happened, because it gets you polished as far as with your customers, understanding like what they need, learning how to communicate better, both internally as well as externally with customers on, is technical information going to get you the sale, or is figuring out their pain points, and those are things that you get by repetition and learning versus and failing consistently, because sales is a failing game. It's just not failing enough to meet your goals. But taking those learnings and also being able to figure out how to internally, I guess, take that information and pitch internally also. Things we talked about before this podcast of how you can get your internal company to understand things that are going on outside of the 4 walls of the organization, and maybe some tough discussions on what needs to change and stuff. But yeah, no, it definitely shaped, I think, both the good times and the bad times that I've experienced, my philosophies on, I guess, how I operate IPR Robotics.
Yeah, I mean, and think about like going from individual contributor to now leadership position. Like that for me at times was like, oh, I just want to go out and close that deal. Yeah. So how do you still feel like you're in that deal, but you're kind of stepping back?
I think the biggest part of it, probably 2 parts. One, for me, going out and finding salespeople that I could trust, that I know are going to, one, take care of the customers how I would want them to be taken care of. The part B of that is also understanding they're not me. Yeah. So there's a level of like, just how I appreciated sales leaders treating me is, let me give me my sandbox parameters, stay within the sandbox, but like allow me to have my personality and my way of communicating involved within that. So I think that was kind of an important aspect, because again, I'm not on the calls every day. I can't be. That's not what I'm supposed to do. And then the second part of that, I think, is instilling my philosophy of how to sell. And so training our salespeople on, again, I'm not going to force you to stick to my script and read my words and do it in this exact order. For me, it's again, the sandbox. So I provided them here's how I kind of expect things to go in that first meeting. I want you to ask these types of questions to uncover, again, not just the technical need, but the customer pain points, because I want that customer walking out of a meeting going, wow, like these guys understand me. And like what's happened a few times is a customer, we asked the right questions and we uncovered a problem that they didn't know they had. And so a good example of that was we had a customer that needed a decent sized rail, and the robot that was going to go on it was obviously a decent size as well. And they didn't think about the fact that the end customer, this is through an integrator, didn't have a thick enough concrete slab to handle.
Big one.
And so we had kind of brought that up in the conversation of like, what's that look like? And they said, I don't know. They went back to their customer. They said, yeah, it's only this, I think it was 6 inches or something, pretty standard. And they basically said, we're not re-pouring a slab, figure it out. And so again, that came back to us. We figured out a redesign to spread the load out. And so we made a custom kind of base design for the RTU to help out. And so now the customer is very happy. I didn't have to re-pour a concrete slab. The integrator is happy because we saved them oh crap, we dropped a rail on your system and smashed your floor. So like, to me, it's like the philosophy of like my whole philosophy in general is being easy to do business with. And that just shapes everything that I try to do. Our team, I try to make them understand like we should take on some pain if we have to allow the customer to have a more frictionless experience. So I guess for me, that's kind of the mantra, I guess, that we go out with.
Yeah, and easy to do business with. I mean, even looking at your new website, how like somebody doing a project, an integrator can go on your site, figure out what they need and kind of shop it out, and it's almost a little bit like an Amazon store, kind of, which, a lot of people like, no, I'm not going to tell the people what it is. You have to call me and talk to me.
Yes. I think that's one I've experienced both ways, where it's like unlock everything on the website, let people have free access to everything, which in some aspects I do understand. Me as a consumer, right? If you go on a website and you're trying to spec out a lawnmower and you're looking at 3 different websites, a lawnmower, and you can't find the specs you want, you might go with the one that you can find the specs with, right? But that being said, we don't live in a productized type of market. No. So, obviously there's standard things that we have with the grippers and tool changers, and the RTUs are very modular to allow a lot of flexibility. But, integrators, who are our main customers, they need one-off solutions many times. So they want a tool changer with specific pass-through sensors and different things that might go with it. So in order to do that, we want them to be able to figure out, can IPR meet what I want? What's the number of pass-throughs they have? But like when they need the more technical, like, I don't want to order something that's not going to work for my customer. That's when we want them to reach out. Yeah. And that's when we, as a sales organization and as our apps engineers, that's when we want them stepping in to reconfirm and make sure that they've got everything they need, instead of ordering a very expensive piece of automation that they might go, oh crap, I have the wrong thing and now I need to reorder and cause an issue that way.
Exactly. So, and that's part of like being easy to do business with. Not like, oh, you ordered that, well, that's too bad, you're gonna have to order another one, and maybe it's the right one this time.
Yes, and we've done that. We've handled a couple times where customers ordered something and they respond back, oh, this isn't fitting. And I was like, oh, you switched the robots or something, that it happens. So we do our best to help them in those instances, and that's just part of, again, we want people to enjoy working with us.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's kind of I think one of the things I heard recently, and I think one of the talks here at A3, they talked about like the super fans versus like consumers.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if you solve a problem for a customer, they may or may not come back. But if they're like a fan and something goes wrong, they're going to give you a little bit more leash to be like, all right, let's fix this. Like, I like you guys. you're fun to work with, you have a good product, you generally are right on top of things. There might have been a misstep. Like that happens with every company. It's impossible to be perfect. However, like we want to develop that type of a customer where they're like, no, we're fans of you guys. We like you guys. We feel that you guys are, maybe a bad cliche, but family in some sense of like wanting to see each other succeed. And, that's how we want our integrator partners to also, be with us too.
Exactly. So. Yeah. And, you mentioned super fans. One thing I didn't mention, we're at the A3 Business Forum. So we, Anthony and I come here every year. Sometimes we run into each other at check-in.
That's our go-to place. Yes.
That's happened several times. But yeah, I mean, and, you've had a very successful year, IPR, you've been there for how long now?
I'll be coming up in 2 years in March.
Yeah, and it's been successful. And you've really, IPR, for those of you that don't know, German company, you are the U.S. subsidiary. So you have not only been easy to do business with, creating super fans here, in the North American territory, but you have really built a brand and built a whole new business here in the U.S.
Yeah, and that's part of, when I came here to IPR, that was important to me was making sure the U.S. market understood that, one, we exist. That's the first thing, is say, hey, IPR is here, and we're not just a German subsidiary to handle, say, German customers that have come to the U.S. We're here to operate as our own entity, if you will, and serve the U.S. market differently than how the German entity serves the European market. Because at the end of the day, it's a different market, it's a different customer style, it's a different working style, and customers have different expectations.
Of course.
So for me, that was why I had to kind of take a look at things and say, what are we really good at? And what do we need improving on? And the great thing for me in coming in here was like the people that were already here were fantastic.
That's everything.
Which is one of the hardest things that people don't get right is like we had a really good foundation of hardworking people, people that generally cared about like the customers. What wasn't in place was more of a outward sales focused organization. In addition to, I guess, just trying to go out to the market again and tell a story of what IPR does best.
Yes.
And so that was the misstep, where that's an easier problem to fix than the problem or the product is bad and the people are bad.
Yeah.
So
I mean, those are the problems.
Those are the first two. Yeah. That's like, all right, product is very good. The people are very good. It's just we got to get out there and tell a story. So for me, it was a huge like, all right, we have a marketing issue, or we have a getting out to the marketing, letting know like all these amazing, like we're in Detroit. There's a ton of robot companies and integrators and automotive OEMs that we sell to that half of them don't know we exist in some capacity. So it was a fun problem to try and solve.
Yeah, no, exactly. And really, you mentioned kind of going out there and storytelling. So how important is that, like, to shorten sales cycles for you, especially if you're kind of like an emerging brand in Detroit, which has a lot?
Yeah, I think it's pretty important. And again, I think part of the storytelling isn't just like I think people probably consider like case studies and customer testimonials. And again, I also consider that part of the sales process, the experience, the frictionless kind of work that we do with our customers is like all that is storytelling, because you're creating the story as you go in that instance, where the customer doesn't maybe in the moment realize it, but when they're getting out of the first meeting going like, these guys seem pretty solid. Like, I'm interested, like, let's talk. And then they say, I have this problem over here that I haven't been able to solve. Why don't you guys start with that?
Yes.
And we solve that problem. Then they're like, oh, the story is IPR is professional. They're well organized. They know where they fit and they solve problems. And it's like they're creating that story, or we're creating that story on the fly without just creating a customer testimonial video to show them in a presentation at the start of a pitch. Yeah. Right.
And the bigger part of that story is now you're so sticky in that account that is your lifelong customer.
Yeah, and I think I remember who talked about that here at A3, but somebody made the comment of like, an integrator. I think actually it was the gentleman from Ford.
Oh yeah, that's good.
But he kind of made the comments like, yeah, once you're in, it's very difficult to get in, but once you're in, don't screw up, because like we're not going to replace you.
Yeah.
And I think that generally is true for our market, where the integrators, if you're not having missteps, why would you fix a problem that doesn't exist when you have all these other problems? So I think that's why it's so important for me and for I think us as a company, is we want that first impression to be frictionless. But even if there is a mistake, we're going to handle that mistake as soon as possible, because we want them to be like, all right, there's a problem, they took care of it, I'm good. Like, these guys are solid to work with. So
yeah, exactly. And really, like, you know, that's part of, you know, leadership too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Finding if there's a problem, taking care of that problem. So, you know, what does good, I mean, we talk about leadership.
Uh-huh.
What does that look, what does good leadership look like? Because I've seen a lot of bad.
we both have.
Have you seen bad? I've seen
Yes.
some bad, yeah. Ooh, that's another episode, everyone.
Yes. It's a great question, because I think, you know, maybe the standard answer is you lead by example. I think that's very true. I think a lot of people say it and don't do it. So yes, that's true, leading by example. Probably the other aspect is maybe doing the hard work alongside your employees.
Bingo.
And I think that doesn't happen, because like I can sit there and say all day long, like, follow up with your customers, like do this, like do that, but you know, there's also a lot of hard things that I have to do that might not be even sales related or customer related, just internally at IPR, all the other things that I have to do. It's like, but if I'm not putting the effort into what I'm supposed to be doing in my role, like everyone else is going to see that and be like, well, why should I also burn the midnight oil for this situation or this customer? And so, I mean, even last week, like we have a big customer coming in this week, and we had our apps engineer kind of working on some new demos and stuff for them coming in. We have a deployment going on, a customer in Texas. All right, what do we do? Well, we have a newer design engineer. We sent him out. I went out with him.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, all right, this week I'm an apps engineer. So
Just like the old days.
Just like the old days. And honestly, it was kind of fun. You know, so I got my other responsibilities, but like I'm on site with our design engineer, and we're working on with the integrator, getting it all connected, working with the end customer, getting it, making sure that they're happy with how the system's deployed. You know, and at the end of the day, it's like, all right, is that my role? Like, no, but you know, just like every small organization, you have your roles and your hats.
Yes.
And you know, last week, my hat was to step in as an apps engineer and help out that, because it called for it. And so like, that's what I've tried to instill with all of our people, is like, you have a role, but when a hat position comes up in a short-term situation, jump in and help that, because again, that makes you invaluable to the company.
You know, I always liked working, like my favorite bosses I ever worked for were the people that they wouldn't ask you to do something that they wouldn't do themselves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's like literally what you
Yeah. No, it's very true. And again, I can look back at the ones that were awful to work with. And I can look back at the ones that like I appreciated and I know appreciated me. And it's like the ones that like I appreciated and appreciated me, I didn't agree with, and they didn't agree with me all the time. But there was a mutual respect of like getting me sometimes to understand things I didn't understand, or perspectives that I wasn't thinking about. Like, you know, yeah, you're saying this, but have you thought about what this person's view on that is? And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, if I'm them, I'm thinking this. And it's like, okay, you know, so it's not like, I loved them because they agreed with me on everything. It was because there was a mutual respect of like, no, I need to push you further because, you know, I see the potential in you. You have a lot more to offer, and I need you to kind of do the things that I would do myself. And that's an important thing. Yeah,
no, I agree with that. And really, you know, this is the thing. Like I hear all the time from leaders like, I just need more in my pipeline. I need better sales. You know, I've worked with you. You have a sales team that's winning.
Mm-hmm.
What does a sales team that wins do differently than anyone else? And it's such a loaded question.
Yeah, it is a loaded question.
And don't give away your secret sauce.
Yeah, no. I mean, is there really a secret sauce to doing what your customers expect you to do?
Oh.
I mean, it's pretty.
Some people would argue yes.
Yes, I guess so. Like, I've been a part of companies that, like, you know, either internally said, you know, I'm bringing in my 5-step process to bringing in more business, or, you know, here, if you just follow my specific speech in these meetings and you follow my specific format, that's how you're going to close more deals. And anyone that kind of comes in, or see even sales trainings that are like, you know, do these things and you're going to,
together at different times. Yeah.
Yep. And it's like, okay, like, no, that's not how people operate. You don't just say these magical words and then you increase your sales.
Yeah.
Yes. Does pipeline matter? Of course. Am I always looking at, like, what does our pipeline look like? You can't grow if your pipeline's going down.
No.
So, like, yes, does getting more opportunities in the pipeline matter? Yes. However, for me with the sales guys, again, I want them focusing on, like, sifting through noise.
Yeah.
And so there might be, you know, a $1 million opportunity that has 1% chance of closing. It's like, do you really want to spend a ton of time right now and hedge your bet? Like, because again, at the end of the day, for the sales guy, it's your number, right? Like, that's all that really matters. That's all really that should matter. It shouldn't be, you know, this might be not controversial, but some people agree, some people don't. I don't care, like, how many meetings did you have? How many phone calls did you make? How many emails did you send? At the end of the day,
quality over quantity.
Exactly. And, you know, when you're running a smaller sales team, I'm not going to bring in, we're not going to bring in, as a smaller sales organization, you know, 1,000 leads a month. You know, we're not the big guys that have these massive marketing machines, you know, teams of 30 BDRs doing cold call. Like, we don't have that. So what do we have to do? Well, we got to be strategic. So our BDRs are focusing on areas that we know we've had success in.
Yep.
And we're hyper focusing our efforts on where we think we're going to have the most success for wins. So we're going to look at our open rates. We're going to look at the messaging. We're going to look at what our recent wins are. We're adjusting marketing based on what we're winning.
Yep.
So why am I going to market something that we're not selling? At the end of the day, if we're getting all of a sudden a bunch of requests for RTUs, well, maybe we should talk about RTUs more on LinkedIn and social media. So I think that's kind of where, I guess, the framework of, you know, what makes a successful, like, sales organization, or to me, it's just doing the right work and not busy work, and trusting. Again, if I'm going to bring in somebody, I have to trust them that they're going to do what I'm asking them to do, but then be effective in it. So if I'm going to sit there and, I have to be on every single meeting and every phone call you make, at the end of the day, why'd you hire that person?
Well, also you can't.
You can't.
You know, and one thing I wanted to ask you about too is, you know, how do you balance all the things that you, like, what keeps you sane? I love that laugh, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, at my core, I'm a salesperson.
Yeah, I know.
So for me, what keeps me sane in a weird way sometimes is being out in the field. Like, as exhausting as the long days at the plant were last week, like, walking out of there, like, with a successful deployment, it kind of just, I don't know, it re-energizes you, right? Like,
you need that.
Yeah. And then, like, when a PO comes in, I'm still, to this, I don't care if it's $20, you know, like, I'm still pumped when another customer decided that I trust IPR enough, I'm going to give you guys the order. You know, and I guess now in the leadership position as an individual contributor, like, I loved it. Like, at Rethink was a great example where we did the, you know, send an email to the team with the PO, and everyone was jumping on the email chain.
About that.
Yeah. And it was for me, as a first time kind of individual contributor, like, it actually meant a lot to me to see, like, other people
They're
cheering you on, right?
Yeah.
And then you got an opportunity when you saw somebody else land a huge deal. Now you get to cheer them on, and it really did kind of bring that team together.
Yeah.
And so me internally here is also as exciting, just as much, and to keep me sane. When I see one of our sales guys land, like, a big fish or even a generally decent order, like, it's exciting to me, and that's what keeps me sane, because at the end of the day, it's like, all right, if we're doing all this work and effort and it's not netting results, either the strategy's wrong, and I need to adjust something, or something else is going wrong. Yeah. So I think just keeping me sane is success. I mean, in some capacity.
Yeah, and you mentioned something. I forgot about those emails at Rethink, but you're right. Those were awesome, and that. Yeah, you're promoting a culture of teamwork, and I think that's why your team is doing well. They're doing the right things, but they're a team.
Yeah, and actually, one of our newer design engineers that we brought on, he's been on maybe for 5 weeks at this point. That was one comment that he made to me while we were at the plant. He's like, "No, I just got this. I don't know. Everyone's just really chill, and like I can tell, like everyone just is willing to like step in and do things, and it's like help each other out." And like he said that almost like he had no idea. Like I just kind of gave him that side eye. I'm like, that was by design. Like I didn't just pick people and hope for the best. Like
you got to pick the right people.
There's people that were more qualified on paper that I passed up on because I didn't feel that culturally they were going to do more than what's asked when needed. Again, we're not going to be out there expecting everyone to work 80-hour weeks. That's just that's burnout and you're not going to survive. But when things happen or when gaps happen in the company because we're growing, like the marketing was a great example. We had a BDR that took over half the halftime marketing, and I kind of took the other half over until we.
You were great.
Yeah, thank you. That was the other half. But like, all right, I got to step in. It's either it doesn't get done, or whatever.
Yeah.
So until we grew enough to say, all right, now we have enough pain. I got to go hire somebody and take that off everyone else's plate. But that was a by design with everyone I'm bringing in. Is everyone perfect? No. Am I perfect? No. Is there things that people probably like roll their eyes at when I turn my back? I'm sure. Yeah, there's no way. It's just human life that you're never going to agree with everybody, and everyone's not going to agree with you. However, generally, I just get that vibe, like in the office, like sitting in my office, hearing people talk, walking through, like people are kind of laughing with each other. They're talking about sports. They're talking about and it generally just seems like a good cohesive, like nobody's like, so-and-so doesn't do anything. You know what I mean? Like there's not that kind of dead weight, and a small company can't have dead weight. So.
Well, they'll bulldoze the place.
Yeah.
The wrong person in a place, and you've seen it, will totally bulldoze a place.
Yeah. I mean, you can count the times at the companies we've both been a part of together or separately, and have seen just in the industry when all of a sudden you have a mass exodus of places. It's like, well, what happened? It's like, oh, well, they put the wrong leader in, or we got sick of dealing with this issue and nobody listened. And all of a sudden you have half your sales team gone, or your engineers start leaving because they're kind of fed up with things. So like it does matter.
It does matter. Yeah, exactly. But also, you've been in this industry for over a decade. Actually, I'm not even going to ask this because I was going to ask you what keeps you motivated, but I think you really told that story.
Yeah, I mean, I guess one extra piece to add to that part of it, but I guess what keeps me motivated is I enjoy seeing the growth in our industry. Like I can think back to when I first came on at Rethink about 12 years ago now, maybe.
There's a couple of minutes.
Yeah. And I remember walking through plants and people, we sold it as a cobot. What is a cobot? It's human-like, blah, blah, blah. And people are like, oh, can it pick out of this bin? And like, it was always like if robots could just pick out of bins, like we'd be really, cruising along here. And like fast forward, and it's like bin picking is so yesterday, right? And it's like, I just remember like so many times, like that was a joke in our industry 10 years ago, like, oh, if robots could just pick out of bins. And it's like, there's so many great companies out there doing that.
Pick your vendor.
Yeah, pick your vendor.
Yeah.
So like, I guess that part of me keeps me motivated to see the progression that we're kind of going through. But at the end of the day, again, with just kind of, I guess, my personality in sales, like I am a people pleaser. Like I want people to like working with me. I want people to enjoy now working with IPR. So that keeps me motivated. When we get one thing I tracked this past year and that I gave as goals for our salespeople was new customer acquisition. Like, I don't care how many dollars, sell $1 to them, but like get a new customer to sign up with IPR. Cause like at the end of the day, that's a great motivator for me to say like, okay, we're doing something right if we're gaining more customers willing to work with us. So like for me, I guess that's kind of what keeps me motivated is is that.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, for me, I get energy from customers.
Yes.
I love that. You know what I mean? And I try to be with them as much as possible, which that's actually my job. So it actually works out.
Yeah, it works out great. Yeah.
But, so long career, right? And it's just getting started, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's in it, but you still have some time to go.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to somebody that wanted to start, like either go into automation or follow in the footsteps of you're a sales engineer and you want to go into leadership? Like what types of advice would you give somebody?
So I think we hit a little bit on this with doing the hard work. As an individual contributor, especially on the sales, you can kind of make the decision when you're kind of left to run your business, if you will. Your territory is your business, how much effort you want to put into it.
True.
And you kind of own your own career path in some capacity, because based on how much I was out on the road, based on the POs that I was emailing through at Rethink, that's what gets noticed.
I'm starting to get cold. The sun is setting on us. I'm seeing that there's a sign that says there's alligators perhaps around.
I'm waiting for one.